What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so shout out to Mr. Max. I saw him talking about this on his YouTube channel. I'm going to put a link to the video I'm talking about in my community post. Please subscribe to his platform. A video he did talking about this. So I don't know whether this might be, because sometimes they do this, sometimes these websites will, recycle some old controversial take that an NBA player or somebody notable had. So they might be doing this. Or, this might be Bill Laimbeer just regurgitating some bullshit that he said before. But I remember him saying in the past that he thought that LeBron would have dominated the 1980s if he was playing back then. Now, of course, with Bill Laimbeer, you have to take everything he says with the most minute, grain of salt, because the guy holds grudges, and he has it in for Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. He'll never give Michael Jordan credit. He'll never give the Chicago Bulls credit. So he'll always find some angle to crap on Michael Jordan, crap on the Bulls. He just does that. So, like if, since LeBron is being compared to Mike, he's going to take Mike's side. Plus, Bill Laimbeer's played for Cleveland. And I believe, let me check something out here. I can't remember, where was Bill Laimbeer born? Was it Massachusetts? Where was he born? Yeah, he was born in Boston. But, he was first selected by Cleveland, and he played in Cleveland for, I think, 3 years? Yeah. Played in Cleveland for 2 years. So he began his career in Cleveland. So he does have some ties there. So you got to take what he says with a grain of salt, man. First of all, LeBron James, and I think Mr. Max said this too, he hasn't even dominated this era, an era in which the rules were augmented and the game was changed and stylized to help benefit him the most. So at the end of the day, you take the big man out. So, we know LeBron lives to drive to the bucket. He's still, at his age, and I suspect that he has other age that he's taking, but, we can't speak upon that on YouTube. But I suspect, in addition to the other things that he's doing, he still has that, he still has enough speed so he can attack at angles to get to the basket. The only thing that would have stopped him in the past would have been a Patrick Ewing or Shaquille O'Neal or David Robinson, but they're taking that out. Plus, you really can't play defense anymore since they took that out, and they really made it almost impossible to guard anybody with the freedom of movement rule, which they implemented, 2019? So it's almost impossible to guard somebody. Plus, LeBron, after being in the NBA for 35 years, finally has seemed to have gotten better in his mid-range and outside shot. But we also know that outside of 5 feet from the rim, LeBron James shoots 37% from the floor for his career. So if this was the 80s, all that rim running he does, all that attacking the rim, couldn't do that back then. You can't do that when you have shot blockers and rim protectors. When you have Mark Eaton, when you have Manute Bol, when you have Kareem, even though he's getting older, when you have, David Robinson, or young David Robinson, when you have Akeem Olajuwon, when you got Tree Rollins, and not necessarily just shot blockers, when you have enforcers, when you got enforcers like, Bill Laimbeer, when you got Charles Barkley and Rick Mahorn, thump and bump, okay? When you got, Buck Williams, when you got Xavier McDaniel, X-Man, when you got Charles Oakley. Seriously, what are we talking about here? You really think that LeBron Ramon James will be doing the things he's doing playing against those guys? Don't forget the first 2 years of his career, when we still had some semblance of hand checking, even though we couldn't technically, players couldn't technically hand check. You still could be physical with a guy. You still could knock him off stride, be physical, bump him, and all that. Those first 2 years, LeBron shot 45% from the floor. There's a reason for that, because it was more difficult to score. Now, I get it, the 80s was a little bit more free-flowing than the 90s. Because generally speaking, teams were a little bit younger. Teams were trying to implement and copy off of the Lakers, the Celtics, who could play two different styles, free-flowing and half-court, copying off the Denver Nuggets, copying off the Mavericks. So, yeah, the pace was a little faster. But no, LeBron is not going to be doing all this extra stuff. And I don't even agree with that we never seen nothing like LeBron. I don't agree with that. Because have we seen Shawn Kemp? Shawn Kemp was 6'10". I know he came in the league 235, but when he went to the finals, he was 260. That's about LeBron James size. And I would argue Shawn Kemp was more athletic before, he discovered, the yayo and the when he discovered the yayo and yoo-hoo. Before that, at least. So, man, I don't agree with this at all, man. What are you talking about? But, they got to say all this because they're trying to wipe out Michael Jordan, or trying to make his achievements seem less noteworthy. You have to be tough. You have to be tough in that era to make it, man, to be a great, great player. So they would have forced him to be more of a jump shooter. That was still never his forte. I mean, he could slash, he could drive, but you got to pay a price for it. And he would have been forced to play defense back then, or his ass not going to be in the starting lineup. And to be honest with you, back then, he would have been forced to go to college because they didn't play this 18-year-old phenom, you get the keys to Palace bull crap back then. He'd have been forced to go to college. Because hell, even KD and Kobe and who am I forgetting? KD, Kobe, and what's his name, man? Played with the Pacers. I forget his name right now. But even those guys, they had growing pains. They still had to go through the process of going through the pecking order, moving through the pecking order. They might be dominating, you know what I'm saying, one-on-one in practice, but back then it was a merit thing. You had to earn your minutes. You had to earn your promotion to get into the starting lineup for the most part. You didn't see 18-year-olds just automatically getting burned in the NBA. It didn't work like that. So, at the end of the day, I don't see LeBron James even being LeBron James back then. He would have went to college for at least 2 years, probably 3, drafted. He'd have been a more well-rounded player, less of a jerk. He still could have been great, I guess, but I don't think that he would have been the same guy. All the bad habits that we see with him, taking forever to learn how to halfway play off the ball, only being able to play one style, lackadaisical on defense, self-centered. Those coaches would have beat that out of him early. But that's bull, man. The Pistons, that's the thing that really gets me. The Pistons devised a system to try to stop Michael Jordan. They literally devised a key set of rules that they adhered to on a game-by-game basis, specifically designed to stop Michael Jordan. Because before that, Michael Jordan was destroying the Pistons individually. Oh, they weren't always winning, the Bulls. More often than not, they weren't winning. But they could not stop him. It's the same dude that dropped 59 points against them on national TV. Same dude the year before that dropped 61 points on them in the regular season. Multiple 40-point games against them. He was killing them. So they devised a system specifically to stop him, and he still averaged 30 points per game against the bad boy Pistons. Meanwhile, do you really think a dude that was getting outplayed by J.J. Barrera, do you really think a guy that couldn't score against a 38-year-old Jason Kidd, do you really think a guy that was getting shut down by incomplete Kawhi Leonard when he was with the Spurs, you really think this guy going to be going up against all those great defenders back then? You really think that, hell, we see how much he gets his pocket picked now? How many turnovers he averaged now? You really think that Derek Harper, Michael Ray Richardson, Michael Jordan, Alvin Robertson, you think these guys will be picking his John Stockton? Those guys will be picking his pocket left and right. Gary Payton, even though I know it's going into the 90s. Nate McMillan, you don't think those guys will be picking his pocket left and right? With his high-ass dribble? Please. Don't get me wrong, man. I think LeBron will be good. But he won't be the same guy. Nope. I guarantee you he wouldn't be the same player playing in the 80s. In the 80s, you had to have a jump shot. That's one of the things that Michael Jordan had to work on religiously, a jump shot. You had to necessarily be able to shoot threes, but you had to have a jump shot to be a consistent scorer in that league. Even with Jordan, he still was able to knock down a jump shot. Julius Erving had to develop a jump shot. Magic Johnson, beginning of his career, he didn't really have much of a jump shot. That's why his scoring was inconsistent. By 83, 84, he had a decent, okay jump shot, By the late 80s, he had a good jump shot. Why? He had to work religiously on it. If you were going to be a scorer in that league, you had to have a mid-range jump shot. So anyway, that's how I look at it, at least. Tell me what you guys think. Cornmeal.